Welcome, welcome to the Speak Your Truth podcast. I'm your host, Laurie, and today I have my dear friend A.E. Reed. He is an artist. He has a graphic design firm that he does on the side. He teaches art locally, and he's just an amazing human being. He's also had a corporate life, so today we're going to let him speak his truth. A.E., welcome.
Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah,
I've been excited about that today.
yeah,
I actually just started advertising today about our discussion, so I'm very
yay.
excited.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I feel like we're like this yin yang dark side good and evil moment here because I'm in this room of black and you're like in the sun and it's all cheery.
I've, and I've got my Star Wars mug, so it's all
Yeah,
dark
yeah.
side, light side.
And I also look like I'm about to drop like a mixtape on you at any minute. So
If you could turn it back, I don't remember that character's name in Star Wars that he has the thing that goes around his, like
oh yeah,
that.
like this.
He'd be perfect.
Be
Oh,
great.
I
Oh
love it.
gosh.
So, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
I am so excited to hear what's going on with you, and because I know you've had a lot of life changes and things going on.
Yeah.
So, let's jump in.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Let me get comfortable. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's been a lot of life changes. I mean, you know, I think life comes at us from all different angles. Let's just really be honest. Life can come at us from every angle, and it's how you really respond to it and how you dig yourself either out of the hole or get out of the valley kind of moment. That really, oh, don't cry.
I'm already moved to tears. I am already moved to tears. I just couldn't help it. I was like, oh, I'm just so excited to hear about your, the life changes that are going on, and it's really more about the fact that you might be putting your house on the market, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. That's the scary part too. It is but yeah, it's how you get yourself out of the valley. I'll get back to my train station
yes,
here. How you get out of the valley. And so, back in 2020, back when the proverbial poo hit the fan, and I'll try to edit myself as best possible because sometimes there's some language that pops out.
it is
Uh
quite all right. My favorite F word is not Friday.
okay. Well then good. Okay. That
So
makes me
you're
feel
good.
better because if it comes out, I won't be like, Uh,
No,
but
you're good. You're
back
fine.
in 2020 when the shit hit the fan, let's just really be honest. When COVID came in, I and you've known me and you've watched and I was bigger, I was heavier, and I lost 40 pounds and got myself together and just said, hey, I can't do this anymore. So I started taking care of myself. And what I realized was I was taking care of myself out here, but there was a lot of in here that I needed to take care of too. And so I was doing that on top of getting healthy. So it was like a whole thing. And now I'm a coach for that program and I love it and been doing it since 2020. And that's really given me back some confidence that I didn't realize I had lost. And it's so interesting how we are as humans, we're so tied, our confidence is so tied into what we can give. Does that make sense to you? It, it's
Yes.
it's just like you're sitting there and like and as you well know, and our podcast listeners will find out now. I mean, I was with a company for 10 and a half years and they eliminated my position in January. It's gone.
Mhm.
I'm officially an unemployed person, and it hit and stung really. It just it still hurts a little bit because my world was so tied to I'm a graphic designer, I'm a senior art director, all this stuff. And it was tied to that.
Yeah.
And that was what I thought my identity was, that I was this person. And instead, and it put me into a spiral real fast. But instead, what it was I had to, and this only happened in the last month or so, I had to take a step back and go, okay, that was my job. Yes, I am a graphic designer and art director of photography, that kind of thing. That's what I do for work. But that's not necessarily me. I'm an
Right.
artist. I am a graphic designer and I am an art director for photography, but I'm an artist at heart first. So that's what made me kind of start turning back to things here locally, like at Tag, which is I gotta say this correctly because I'll call it the old name, the art gallery at Congdon Yards here in High Point.
Correct.
That's what made me turn. This is what made me turn to that, and start taking some classes. Did I need to take an acrylics class? No. I'm an established painter. I know how to use acrylic. But what it did give me was that moment of step out of this head and go and create and be around like-minded people who create. And sometimes I
Yes.
think we forget that, especially when we get into a corporate situation. We get to be like that lone little pine tree just in the wind, and we forget to connect with other people who are like-minded because it feeds our soul. We don't do that
Right.
enough.
We forget there are other trees in the forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times with that, especially as being creative, that comes from this unrealistic expectation of competition. We are not in competition with each other, but as artists, you feel like you are,
Yeah.
you know, and that ties back to that whole self-worth thing,
Mm-hmm. Well,
am
and
I
what
good enough?
and what gets me, because and like you and I connected. Gosh, it was before pandemic, so
Yeah.
2019, 2018, something like that.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
back. Back then. Anyway, so it'd been a while, and it was funny because I reached out to you because I was seeing your post on Facebook and everything, and you were marketing your art, and I'm like, what is she doing? How is she doing? I want to know this person. And the great part about it is, with you and I, when we met, it was like, hey, I'm an artist. Hey, you're an artist. Hey, let's talk. And that's what
Yeah.
it was. And and I talked about this with somebody else the other day. I think it may have been Michaela down at Tag, but
Hmm.
we were talking about how, as artists, you know, let's just say, okay, I did this painting, okay, and it's wonderful and fabulous, and you go, how did he do that? And as artists, sometimes we go, I can't tell you. Because then if I tell you, you're going to do it and you're going to do it better than me. But that's not the
Right.
case. And
No.
that's not how it works. Like I could tell you, hey, this is what I did. I did this, and give you all the steps. And your result is going to be completely different because it's from your hand and your heart and your soul.
Right.
It's not going to be like mine. And
It is.
even if we looked at the same thing and did the same exact steps, yours is going to be different. That's just how it works. But as artists,
Right.
we're so scared to share because we think somebody's going to steal what we do and make it better, and then we're going to be out in the wind again. And it's not
Right.
the case.
We don't want to share. That is one thing that I think I learned. And, during the pandemic, I was laid off of my job.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I had a manager or two that knew me well enough to know that they wanted, if they could get me back in some capacity, they wanted me back. I was cut due to dollars. We needed to make some trims, and I was the newest person on the current team I was on, right? So
Uh-huh.
that had to happen. And this exact same thing happened with me. I got my groove back. Like I realized that I am not my corporate job, and it also opened up for me, just like with you, that we're not in competition with each other. We are not. I love to collaborate, and that's one of the reasons that I really want to, have more people on the podcast and talk about what you do and how you do it, and how you're feeling about it, because in order for other people to realize that it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
share, we have to share it. We have
Yeah.
to tell people. We have to share this knowledge that we've learned, that it's like, hey, why don't you and your 3 artist friends and your 4 artist friends, let's all get together and let's paint together. We don't even have to have a plan. We could just show up with our little, I've got a little paint palette right here and a little pad of paper, and we can just meet at the park.
Yep.
It's it's that kind of collaboration
Yeah. And
that
I
is
think
what's going to help us grow.
and I think what happened too, Lori, especially with the pandemic, it allowed all of us to go and get in our little burrows
Oh
and do like
God.
this.
Yeah.
Can we, is it safe to come out yet? And it's still
Yes.
sometimes like that. But we've gotten
Yeah.
so used to being on these social screens and being here that we've forgotten how important it is for human interaction. It's plain and simple. I mean,
I
it's just
I
scary.
just had that conversation with my friend Paul. My friend Paul works with me in our corporate job. He's a photographer, and that's what he does at my job. But he just did my headshots for me. And, in talking to him, we were laughing because they've told us to come back into the office 2 days a week now. And we were like, we don't wanna, because it's too peoply. But the fact of the matter is like my husband said, he goes, it's just a routine. You're just out of the routine.
Yeah.
Once you get back used to it, you won't be upset about it. You'll be excited to go see people.
Hmm.
And, that pandemic really did do a number on us, right?
Oh yeah.
Socially. And so it's been nice to get back out and see people.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so t- no, go ahead. I was going to say, so tell me what all you've got going on because you've mentioned tag a couple of times. So tell me what you got going on with tag.
Yeah. So, like I said, I started taking classes there, and I've always been interested in it. However, because of my job, a lot of their classes and everything were during the day, and I couldn't
Right.
get to them, and it just killed me because I'm like, and now they've moved locations because they used to be in the IHFC building. If you're from High Point or even know, it's the big ass block of concrete in the middle of town.
The
That's
big old
that,
furniture market building.
yeah, with the big IHFC across the front. Can't miss it. And they were in there, and so when they moved to Condon, it made them more accessible, and they've got new space. And so what I'm doing is I've taken classes with them. I've met some great people, and while I was there, I had made comments to Michaela, who is the education leader, about doing some classes. So on June 3rd and 4th, I'm leading a workshop with Tag, and it's called Painting with Scissors. And basically, it is, I like to think of it as like collage on the next level. So it's going to be, let's be honest, we can all cut and paste paper to another piece of paper. We all have those skills. We have scissor skills and we have gluing skills. We got that. So what I want to do is take it to where you're not creating an image going, okay, I want a triangle here and I want a square here. You're actually looking at another image and creating that image in paper. So it's going to be a whole other layer. And I'm going to teach composition and texture and color and all that stuff to help kind of make it go, oh, this isn't a clopped up crappy bunch of paper glued down. It's, oh, I can see what this is supposed to be. And you can see how a photo starts here. It may turn into a painting, or it might be a collage, or it might be all three, because I do have a sample that's all three. I took a photo, I have the painting, and now I have the collage of all of that.
That's really
So,
cool. So I'm personally fascinated by this as a creative, as a painter, and because I have never really dabbled into what I call mixed media or
mhm,
any of that. I've never put something else on my on my on my
yeah,
paper or on my canvas that wasn't paint.
yeah, yeah.
And I think this sounds really interesting and very exciting.
Yeah, and I think I can't wait. But like I said, it's on June 3rd and 4th. There's
Hmm.
two sessions on the 3rd, which are Saturday. We go from 10 to noon, and then we take a break from noon to 2, and then we do 2 to 4, and then we come back on Sunday and finish everything up. And we will actually be painting some papers, like let's say for instance, let's say you're doing a self-portrait of you right now, and
Right.
you want that color of like that lovely orange terracotta or your green that you don't have. We're going to paint
Mhm.
some papers. So if that's the color you want, you'll have it. In the afternoon
Right.
session, your paper will be ready to go and you can start cutting it up and making it be what you want it to be. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait. But if anybody wants to sign up for that, you go to the Tag website, and there'll be a little link there and you can sign up for my class. But like I said, it's June 3rd and 4th. And I think
Well,
it's like $80 for people who aren't members or something, and I think it's 60
mhm.
for people who are. It's not
Yeah.
expensive. It's a great
And
time.
it's two. I mean, and it's basically three classes. You're not just taking 2 hours, 2 hours, and 2 hours. It's three separate classes
Mhm.
because it's in more of a workshop format.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and don't worry, I will be putting the link in the bio on YouTube and on the podcast, so you'll be able to sign up if you want to if you live locally. I think it would be a lot of fun. It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be something fun and different, and so yeah, I'm doing that, and then like we've talked about the changes in life that are coming along, and I don't really know. It's one of those things. I just don't know where life's going to take me, and we were talking about being in the valley moment.
Right.
I did have my pity party. I mean, we all
Yeah.
have to have it to get out of it. We have to
Yes.
have it. And that's the
Yes.
way you get through things, is to actually go through things. You can't just go, "Oh, I'll just stick that over here for later." No, no, bitch, you gotta work on it. You gotta work on it right now.
Right.
You gotta work on it
Right.
now, because guess what? It's just gonna fester and get worse as time goes on. If it's sitting over there, you just can't.
Did you did you find yourself grieving that loss? Because I know I
Oh,
did.
oh,
I
oh,
did.
yeah, yeah. I had a
Like
day.
mad, sad,
Hmm.
all of it, and
Hmm.
then let it go.
Yeah,
And then
I
sometimes it does creep up on me. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm still mad, but then I'm like, why? You
that
know?
that happened to me just this past week. I got angry, and I got angry and then depressed, and had a day where, if I was a cartoon character, there'd be that grumbly little like cloud over my head. They're going all day long. That's what it would be. All day it was this gray cloud, but it didn't start that way. And it was funny
Right.
because it involves tag again. I was down
Yeah.
at tag, and I was talking to Michaela about some new classes that I think they could offer, like a basics course of, hey, here's how you paint, here's how you draw, here's how you use acrylic,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. What is perspective? We're going to teach you. So I was talking to her about that, and I got so excited about it. And as you know, there's a job that I've applied for in Raleigh that I want more. Oh, I want it more than world right. I just got to have it. I want it. And it got me going, because here I am. I'm talking to people here locally about all this stuff. And I got so excited about it. And I came home and I went, huh, well, that was fun. But now, well, crap. I don't. And it pissed me off, because I couldn't do that for my center, if that makes any sense. I was like, I want it to be my center. I want to, I want to do these things. And it
Yeah.
really upset me. And I mean, it took me down. I fell asleep for 2 hours. I went and laid on the sofa in the living room and fell asleep for 2 hours. And I woke up, and that little cloud was going over my head. And it was that for the rest of the day. I didn't want to eat. I didn't, I was grouchy. I wanted to go take a glass and throw it against the wall to hear the glass break. I was just like this.
Yeah.
And it didn't serve anybody, and it served me to a point, because it made me feel that I think I should have
Right.
felt like way back in January, when all the shit hit
Right.
the fan, but I didn't. And so there's been those moments where there's those flashes of, and it's,
Yeah.
ugh. So, and then there are other times I'm just absolutely giddy that I don't have a 9 to 5 right now.
Tell
I,
you,
I get to go for a
uh,
walk and enjoy the weather and all that fun stuff. So,
I question my need to go back to a 9 to 5 all the time.
yeah,
But then I have to dial it back around and say, you work on a team you like, you work for somebody you like, you
yeah,
have teammates that you love. I mean, how I could have a way worse job
yeah,
because the job that I have is great.
yeah,
I missed that freedom that I had for 6 months,
yeah.
which was really
Well,
nice.
yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I'll be really honest. The job I had, if they had not let me go and eliminated my position, I'd still be going there. I would still be doing my eight to
Right.
five. I would have been still stressed out at market, because 45 gazillion things were coming our way, and they needed to get printed in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
And I'd be loading stuff to the website, doing all those things. I'd still be doing those. But that's one of the
Right.
things that I loved about that job, because I knew the job. I could go in with my eyes closed and do everything I needed to do, and and just produce all this wonderful stuff for them with my eyes closed. I didn't have to think about it.
Right.
But that was the bad part about that job too, because I got stagnant and comfortable, and it wasn't pushing me any longer. And so
Right.
I was just, I was just going through my day, just being comfortable. And comfortable's okay for a little bit, but I've been comfortable for a really long time there.
Right.
And the universe just said, it's time. Doop, and just plucked me right off there and went, it's time to be uncomfortable. You got to go out here and change. And I mean, it was coming because of the situation that's about to happen in the fall. Um,
Hmm.
and having to move to the Raleigh Durham Chapel Hill area, which may or may
Right.
not happen. I still don't know how that's going to work out. But
Right.
if it happens, if I was at my old job, I would have been sitting there going, okay, well, what if they'll let me do remote for a few days and come into and having to drive from
Right.
Chapel Hill an hour, which that wouldn't have mattered if it was like once or twice a week, whatever.
Right.
But, but now I don't have to worry about it. The universe gave me that gift of saying, we're going to take this off your plate. So
Right.
you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to have those emotions of, oh, I'm leaving my job. No, no, you're done. You're out of here. And
Right.
I went and I had to go. And it hasn't been easy to accept that at all. But, and I'm going to bring up that discussion you and I had right before we got on camera. Because, yes, people, we did talk just a
Yes.
tiny bit.
We don't just magically appear here
Yeah.
and start our conversation, which
Exactly.
is one of the things that I always laugh about because anytime I start talking to somebody, I do a pre call before we do
Yeah.
the actual podcast, and and then I laugh because when we're done, I'm like, oh, I should have recorded that because that was good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we should just walk around recording ourselves all the time
Recording
having
all
these
day.
conversations.
But like you and I were talking about that whole let them comment that that
Yes.
I was to share with our podcasters. I was
Yes.
listening to Instagram this morning and looking at my Instagram feed, and this lady came up as a suggested post. Now Instagram already realizes that I tend to put some chat out there about getting yourself healthy mentally and physically and all that fun stuff, and so there's always some interesting folks. Like I follow Tabitha Brown now, just love her to death,
Yeah.
and she's a local to Greensboro. Did you know that?
Yep. I sure
She's
did.
from Greece. I did not know that until
Tab
the
is
other
from
day.
Greensboro. And it's funny because I have some friends, they're like, oh, Tab. And I'm like, I don't know Tab like that. But yes. So
I,
I have picked that up, you
you're like,
know.
I know Tabitha.
I know Tabitha. I know that I can't get any of her stuff at Target because I'm too slow.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You have to be there as they like open the box. It pops. It's like Tabitha.
to be
But
standing by the truck.
yeah, exactly. Knock the guy in the head to get the stuff. I don't promote violence. But it's funny because we're sitting there and like let them, and it was this whole concept like that. If we spend all this time trying to convince people to be within our narrative that we want it to be, and instead of saying, and it's a simple concept, like you and I were talking, it's a simple concept, it's nothing major. But if your spouse, for instance, is sitting there and they are insisting on cleaning something that you're like, I just cleaned that 5 seconds ago. Why are you cleaning? You know what? Let them. Just let them.
Right.
Why, or if you're at work and somebody decides that she needs to be the boss of the world and has to call all the shots and thinks she knows more than everybody else, let them. Just let it go. It's one of the, and I don't want to bring up Let It Go because everybody's going to start hearing the Frozen song in
Let
their
it
head.
go. Let it go.
See, you went there. So, but it's
If
just
I had,
simple.
if I turned my camera around, the other backdrop would have, everyone would understand why I went there. That's what I'm looking at, okay? So just know.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned, if this came down behind me, there's a whole mess of studio behind me, so
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
but you just have to kind of let people do what they're going to do, and
Yeah.
just don't try to make them conform. And it was funny when that happened this morning. I was like, oh, huh. And it's a simple concept. It's a very simple
Yeah.
concept, but we always want to push that boundary. And I will tell you, if you hear some heavy breathing, it's my pup is here beside me trying to get my attention again. So one is a
The
snoring, and
stalker.
yeah, one's a stalker, one's breathing heavily at her dad's side because she probably didn't go potty when we went outside earlier. But yeah, now she
Well,
needs to. Yeah,
now she's like, "Excuse me, when are y'all gonna be done?"
yeah, yeah,
She's the child. She's panting. She can't go. Dad, dad,
dad,
dad, dad, dad, dad, dad.
yeah.
Um, she's like, I need to go outside.
I'll get a paw here in a minute. So that'll be nice.
I am very. I have to close the door. I'm very familiar with that. I would have somebody sitting in my lap, and that's how it starts. It starts with I'm going to sit here and stare at you, and if you don't pay attention, then I'll come over and put my head on your lap, and if you don't pay attention, I'll put my paws on your lap, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
eventually climb up until I can stick my tongue on your face, and you'll be like, "Yuck, you need to go outside." Um, I'm so sorry. So I really love that whole let them comment
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
truly this whole world needs a real let them right now. You
Yes.
just need to do you and don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about what other people have going on in their life. And that's something I think that is such a blessing that, as people start to see it and realize that, you know, And I think until somebody else says something to you like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that," if I said that to somebody else, they would think, "Well, who are you to tell me what to do?" And that's exactly my point. That's exactly the
Hmm.
point about let them
Hmm.
do their thing.
Yeah.
Let people be who they be.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of funny you bring that up because yesterday, with my little people from Tag, I have a little group of ladies that invited me to join their little art group. It meets on Friday mornings, and so I drove out, and I've been keeping a lot of stuff kind of on the DL. And when I mean a lot of
Hmm.
stuff, I basically mean I had not discussed with them that I am married to a man, and his name
Yeah.
is Renee, and he's from Cuba, and all that fun stuff. I haven't said anything about that because I
Right.
didn't know the room. You know,
Right.
I would
Right.
say the name, but I didn't say anything beyond that. I was going to
And
the.
Renee has a very metrosexual name that he goes.
Yeah, exactly. And I use the they pronoun. I they them
Yeah.
real quick
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I hadn't got a good read on the room. And it was so
Right.
funny that Thursday night when I was at the tag reception that they just had open for that show that opened. And if you haven't gone to that show, go look at it. It's fabulous. It's great. There's some pieces in there that'll blow your mind because you're going to think they're crocheted, and they are crocheted. It's pottery. And
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm going to sidetrack just a second. It's pottery. This lady, she crocheted these bowls and vases, right? And she dipped them in porcelain glaze, put newspaper in, and then fired them. So when they fire, the paper burns, and so did the yarn inside. So she actually has crocheted vases that
Wow.
are porcelain, but when you look
Yeah.
at them, you're like, how did she do it? And there's a guy there that did longleaf pine needles.
Hmm.
He dyed them and wove them into baskets.
Wow.
And there's like some that are like
That is somebody who's got some patience with that.
ah,
Basket weaving with longleaf pine needles. I mean,
yeah,
longleaf pine needles are big for
yeah,
anybody not
but
from the South. Um, yeah, you've got
but
these giant pine needles, but
and
holy wow.
some of them are 2 feet wide or like a foot tall. I mean, they're not little tiny little. I mean,
Right.
they're big. I was so shocked. But go. Oh, you were gonna say something before I get back on my track.
No, I was just going to say that I really want to get by there. I couldn't get there on Thursday. Yeah.
It's a great show for those who are local. Head to Tag and see it. But so I was sitting there and I was talking to Courtney, a
Hmm.
lady who's in the group, and so Court and I were talking, and I don't know if she wants to be called Court, but I just did, and that'll be her new nickname. I'm sure she'll be just like, no, it's Courtney. But Courtney and I were talking, and I said something about Renee, and she's like, who is this Renee person? And I said, now how am I going to approach? I was like, it's my husband. And she was like,
Yeah.
why am I just finding out about this?
Is this Courtney B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And she said, why am I just finding out about this? And I was like, and I just didn't give an
Well,
answer because I
read
just
the
didn't know.
room.
Well, and what's funny is it came up yesterday in our art group. And
Oh.
she was like, okay. She goes, we're sitting there talking about something. And I think Cindy and I'd already had a conversation. So Cindy already knew who Renee was. And Cindy said something about Renee not being at the reception or something. And Courtney goes,
Mhm.
oh, ladies. And I was like, she goes, how many of you had just discovered? And it was so funny. And Courtney actually looked at me. She goes, I don't know why you didn't tell me. She goes, who really cares? And I said, and she said, but I think he was trying to read the room to make sure we were okay.
Yeah.
And she said it, and I went, you're
Yeah.
right. I was like, you're right. And I hate to be that way. And in some rooms, I'll just be honest, I don't give what they say. I'm just
Right.
like, I don't care. But it was just one of those moments where it was a non-issue for me, but I just didn't feel like discussing it.
Right.
And in the current climate that we're living in, especially with stuff that's going on down south in
Hmm.
near the House of the Mouse,
Yes.
it's like you just don't know. And
Right.
so, and it's sad that way. Um, it, it's just such a mess. And it's like,
Yeah.
just like you said, let them just
Yeah.
let them. And I'm not
Just
saying
let
go out there
people
and be the
be.
wild, not be the Wild West, and be all wackadoo and
No.
but I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West. People are getting shot up every damn day
I
you
was,
turn around.
I was
And
gonna say, what do you mean? I'm like, these are the same. This I don't even want to get down into this
yeah,
conversation, but this is what's causing the Wild West.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you know,
There's a level of themness. I like to
yes,
say it's like, well, they did this and it's their problem. They did. No, it's not a
yeah,
they problem. It's a we
no,
issue. And
yeah,
until we decide and understand that this side of the we, or this side of the they, and this side of the they are pretty much the same theys, and we're a
yes,
we, it's going to be a mess. I mean,
yeah,
we contemplated leaving the country. I mean, honest to
yeah.
God, we contemplated leaving the country and like going to Portugal because we were looking at it during COVID and we're like, Portugal's nice, and we were like, we're gonna go.
I
We've
think that's so funny because I have a friend of mine, um, her brother and his husband and
hmm
their child moved to Europe. And I'm
it's
not saying that that's the reason they moved, but it's very interesting to me to watch the dynamics because I see people that are very pro this. Well, I call it the dark side,
hmm
but yet they have family that affects, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get your thought. I don't get your thought process at all.
I have that, yeah, I have that
And
issue.
I think a lot of people do, and I think that they don't realize. And here's the other thing that I'm going to say. I didn't mean to drop us down into some kind of political something, but
We'll jerk it back out in a minute.
as a woman, I don't really appreciate anybody trying to tell me what I can and can't do with my own body. Whether I can take certain medications or whether I am forced. I mean, we're very close to a Handmaid's Tale, and I'm not interested in this kind of thing. And it really, as
You're
my husband will
grown.
say, it really gets me going. And
Yeah,
I have very certain ways that I look at things, and I am absolutely open to everyone. I'm a safe space.
yeah,
My
yeah,
family is a safe space.
yeah,
Our home is a safe space for anyone, and,
yeah,
we're not going to judge anyone based on who they are or what they
right,
are, um, anything.
yeah,
So
and
jerk
it
us out
should,
of the jerk
yeah,
us out of the dark hole, please.
yeah. So I'm just gonna say I agree with you because you're a grown woman and you know what you need to
Right,
do and what you have to
right,
do and how to.
right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
I mean, people are treating you guys, women,
and
and now going into like the whole bit with the trans community, like you don't have a brain and you don't
right.
exist, and it's like, fuck,
Like we need to be told what to do.
yeah. And I'm like, well, take your little tiny white penis and go somewhere else because that's most
Right.
of them.
Well,
Well, except for the orange marmalade king.
what happens with me is none of your business,
Exactly.
and that goes for everybody.
Yeah. It's back to let them. Just let them.
Let them just let
So,
people live and let live.
so,
That is my thing.
so now we're gonna take it where we want to go. Let's talk. Let's talk art design. Let's do some. Let's take it somewhere. Where do you want to go with it?
Let's go up and out, man.
Yeah.
So what? So you have this course coming up
Yes.
with tag.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you see coming down the pipe in the future for your creations and maybe your thoughts around teaching other courses and
Yeah.
you know
Um, I have, well, back to the tag situation. I have talked to them about that basics course, and it looks like I will
mhm,
probably, if I'm still in the area, I'm putting a
mhm.
big if on that. If I'm still in the area, Michaela and I have talked, and I will probably be the one leading those basics courses. So I'm
That'll be
really
great.
excited about that. Because I do have an art education background. That's what I went to school for originally. I was going to be a teacher, and oh, okay, everybody's going to get a kick out of this. So I didn't want to do elementary school because I didn't want to do
Mhm.
paper and
Right.
crayons and tempera paint and scissors. Okay, wait, it gets better. And then
Oh no, I know where you're going with this.
so in middle school, I was like, I can't deal with those mouths because I'd be like, oh, don't you did, oh, you did not just say, oh, come here. I'd be, mm. And then with college, I thought I could teach college, because they're paying to be there. And if they don't want to show up, well, okay, well, there you go. But now here I am. What am I going to do? And what was my show that I just had in Virginia in September? What was it? It was cutting paper and pasting it down with paste. And I'm going, Maybe I should have just went to elementary school education. So it's kind of funny that that happened. But what I'm hoping to do, I'm going to do the basics classes because I love teaching people and watching them discover something that they didn't think they could do or they thought was so monumental. And you go, no, it's just this. And all of a sudden they go, oh, I did it. And you're like, you did. And that's it's such a rush because I love watching them realize that. And then myself, like, I'm like, hey, I helped this person realize something about themselves today because really building people up is so much healthier for everybody than trying to knock people down.
Yeah.
And so I'm
And
going to
it
be
feels good.
yeah, it
It
does.
feels so good to build people up.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like I told you, like when I got my confidence back in 2020, I would not have done the show I had in Virginia back. If you came to me in 2019 and offered me that show, I'd be like, oh no, I can't, I can't. There's so much I'm doing. I can't do this. I can't. And I actually approached that gallery and said, hey, I'd love to do a show back home. If you all fit me into your schedule, great. If not, that's fine. But I would love to do something back home. And it was I think it was a year before they got back with me and said, hey, we have an opening. They wanted to do it. You'll appreciate this. Can you put a show up in April? I was still employed by a furniture manufacturer. No, I can't do anything in April. I can't do anything in
Right.
March.
No.
So luckily my show went up at the beginning of September. So it was up before market and I was able to get that done. But before that, I wouldn't have done it because I didn't have that confidence.
Right.
And so love building people up. So I'm going to do the basics classes, getting back. See, my train derails
Mhm.
sometimes, but I get back to the station eventually.
Just, I'm letting you drive the train because I'm the same way.
So I'm going to do those basics classes if I'm
Mhm.
around. I
Yeah.
have I have pondered back and forth and I'm still working on it. I haven't made a
Mhm.
complete decision as of yet completely about doing some online offering some online classes via Zoom for
Yeah.
art. I'd love to do that, and then that way I could do it anywhere I am. I mean, even if I'm on vacation, I could be, sitting around somewhere going, okay, now take your paintbrush, and do things like that. But that's still being worked on and worked out. So
Mhm.
that's kind of a premature announcement, but that's okay. Um,
I think it's good to talk about things. Um, you know, I talked about this on my podcast last week about putting things out into the universe and letting the universe sprout it out like it's supposed to go.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll put it out in the universe. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have said out loud, I am the assistant director of the Pullen Arts Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm like, I am. And
That's
one
right.
time I
That's
dropped the
right.
assistant. I dropped the assistant. I was like, I am the center director. I was like, I am now the center director. And I've been putting
Yeah.
that out left and right. And I'm just like, please, just, somebody realized that, and that's why I say with the art classes, I'm not
Mhm.
sure because it may be that that
Right.
happens and then I'm obligated to
Have to.
do stuff through the center and I'm
Right.
fine with that too. I'd love to be able to do that, but
Absolutely. But I really feel like this direction is, part of. I love how you said that you were plucked out of your job. I cannot
mm-hmm.
remember I've heard that said before. It's like you can either, I've heard a speaker talk about how you either make the decision or you are plucked out
Yes,
to do to do what you're supposed to do.
you're supposed to do.
And
Yeah.
and I kind of, and when the first time I ever heard that, I was like, well, I must have squandered my plucking because I went back to my job. I went back to work in my corporate
Yeah.
job. Um, so I'm waiting for the next pluckening. So,
Yeah.
you
And then you'll
know,
be just like, what the pluck? I mean, it's like, what's going on?
what's happening here? What am I
this is
plucking going to do for money?
this is plucking crazy. Yeah, I mean that's it. It was so scary because, like I said, I was comfortable. I was
Oh,
comfortable at that
yeah.
job, and the
Oh,
universe just came in and went, "Not today, bitch," and plucked me out of there real fast.
right. It it is there is that level of comfort, and we as humans struggle so much to get away from being too comfortable.
Hmm.
um I am
Yeah,
that perpetual person. I'm constantly working on myself, and I know you are too. It's like it's a constant battle. um But going back to when you talk about your health coaching,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have done that. My sister is also a health coach,
Yep.
and I have done that, and it was great, and it stayed off until like a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
almost two, maybe almost 2 years ago, um, and it started to come back. And what I see, and I don't like to really make this about my job, but
Mm-hmm.
when I tend to go all in on my drug of choice, which is food.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am doing something I don't mind doing and I love doing, but it's not what I'm called to do on this earth. And that's what I'm seeing. And that's that connection that I'm putting together. Um, that it's
Yeah.
much easier for me when I am doing what I'm called to do and meant to do.
Yeah.
Because I started doing that when I was laid off.
Yep.
I started down that path and boom, it all went away.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
healthy, and not that I'm not really unhealthy right now. I've been to several doctors recently that have all confirmed that I'm not really unhealthy. But I'm not comfortable. I'm not
Right.
comfortable where I was. I was very comfortable in
Yeah.
my skin
Yeah.
back at that point.
Yeah. It's amazing. I like I said, I didn't realize the amount of confidence that I'd actually lost, and it was a lot of self talk in my head. And God, we talk with ourselves more than we talk to anybody else. You knock something
Yep.
over. Well, dumbass, why'd you do that? Well, you're stupid. And it's like you say that to your head, and eventually you're going to start keeping believing. You're going to believe you're a dumbass and you're stupid.
Oh,
And
your brain believes what it hears.
yeah, and for me, what I did, is because let's be honest, the weight didn't just show up overnight. I felt like it kind of went
Correct.
away a little bit overnight because it was fabulous. In 3 months, 40 pounds gone. I was like, yes, but it didn't. It didn't show up overnight. And so
Right.
what happened was, I realized I started doing little things to make myself comfortable, because once again, as humans, we want to be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. We
Right.
don't all go buy the sweatpants just because we think our butt's going to look cute in them. No, it's because we want to
Right.
be comfortable. And so,
Right.
and for our fellas, the gray ones, but anyway, the gray sweats, they're great. And the thing was, it was like I'm sitting there and I started doing little things like buying slip-on shoes, because guess what? I couldn't bend over to tie my shoe without feeling like I was going to pass out. So I started
Those new
buying slip.
Skechers were for you.
Yeah, I got those slip-on shoes because then guess what? I didn't have to worry about tying my shoes. And so that made it great. And I started buying, like the one of the very first episodes of the new season of Queer Eye with Jonathan Van Ness and Tan and all the guys.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one, that gentleman that just passed away recently. It was the title of the show was You Can't Fix Ugly or something. And he was an older gentleman, big bushy beard. He had a belly, and he always wore like shorts and weird t-shirts and all this stuff. And Tan came in. I'll never forget the day. As a matter of fact, the show just started over again. They just did the new season on 7. It's great. If you haven't seen season 7 of Queer Eye on Netflix, go watch it. Oh my God. And the guy at the end, the last show,
Mm-hmm.
see if he looks like somebody you might know, i.e. my husband. It's funny. But on that very first episode, they told that fella, gentlemen with a belly who have a little bit of fat around their waist, what the best thing to do is to wear a t-shirt tucked in, but then put a shirt over top. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that loud and clear, and if I always t-shirt, that was my little go-to, because I was getting a belly, and I started calling myself the fat boy. Because what that did was, in my
Right.
head, I was like, oh, here comes the fat boy. And when donuts showed up at the office, somebody go, are you going to have a donut? You know the fat boy's not going to pass up those. I would say it out
You
loud
you
to make
flat out
myself.
gave yourself permission to let it go. I hear you so loud and clear right now,
Mhm.
because that's where it's like I decided can't beat them, may as well join them.
Yep. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. I just started calling myself
Mm-hmm.
fat boy. And what it did was, it made me the butt of a joke. So everybody could be calm and okay about the fact that they just saw me go back into the break room and have the other 5 of those donuts that nobody else
Right.
ate. So I've already eaten half a dozen. And, oh, here comes the fat boy. He's going to eat the cookies that the rep left. And da-da-da. And so in 2020, when I made that decision to go, can't do this anymore. It was so weird because that internal monologue that I had going on, I will catch myself now because, like, with our program, there's a life
Mhm.
book that comes with it, and it really gets into why are you eating, what is going on,
Right.
and a lot of it is also about sabotaging yourself and self-talk. And self-talk is our number one sabotager
Mhm.
everywhere. And like RuPaul
Yeah,
says, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. It's true. And
it
so
is true.
there are moments where I still do this. Knock something. Well, I'll be like, well, dumbass. I'm like, no, you're not a dumbass. You just knocked that over. Why did you mess that
Yeah.
up? You're so stupid. No, I'm
Yeah.
not stupid. It was a mistake. You
Right.
gotta switch those talks. I
Yeah.
mean, it's damaging. It can really take you down. And that's what happened with me and my confidence was,
Mhm.
well, you can't do that because of this. You can't do that because of this. Oh, you don't want to do a show. You're huge. Why would you want to do a show and be like this balloon walking into the room? That was my world of talk. And I
And
had to
you
get
know
rid of it.
what's so funny when you said that? I immediately went, "You're so talented. You're huge." And I was like, "You can do a show because your artwork is amazing. You're huge. You're a huge artist." You know? And I think when you start to really pay attention to what you think and what you're telling yourself and what you're believing, that's when things shift. And I think that just the fact that that's what I heard as opposed to "you're huge" was that my mind shift has happened a little bit, and I feel better. I went to, I've been trying to find a new doctor. My doctor retired 2 years ago. And so I've basically been going on these visits to interview doctors.
Yeah, you have to.
And I finally found one that I just love her. I'm like, oh my God, I love her. I'm like, and it just totally changed my perspective. I've gone to see doctors. They're like, you need to walk 30 minutes a day and cut out
Hmm.
sugar. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, how about let's be a little bit more realistic?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this lady was like, and,
Sugar's in
and
everything.
well, sugar isn't everything. And I know it's the devil, and I know that it's where my addiction comes from.
Hmm.
But she also, so this next lady, so I went to her, and then I was like, I don't really like, there's something about there I don't like.
Hmm.
She was nice. There was nothing wrong. But so then I went to this lady just recently, and she was like, "Have you ever tried intermittent fasting?" I'm like, "Yes." And I was like, "It's really hard." She's like, "Well, just start slow." And so I did it for 2 days this last week, and I was like, "That wasn't that bad." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna," because the goal is not really for too much for me to intermittent fast all the time, but
Hmm.
it's for me to shrink my stomach so I'm not hungry like I am right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
She went about this with a total different approach and didn't just look at me and say, "Oh, well, you just need to walk and exercise."
Yeah.
She looked at me and said, "You're a 53-year-old woman. You have hormone problem. You're all the 53-year-old woman issues, right? I'm not even going to start going into that with you because that's TMI."
Hey, I have
But
friends. I have friends that I have gone bra and panty shopping with. There's no TMI at this point.
well,
Trust me.
and see, just let me tell you that I'm very comfortable with you, and I would have no problem with that. But all of that stuff, it does. It's everything, and now I'm able to kind of step back and see things a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
thing is, like, there, that doctor took in consideration who you were as a person, as opposed to, oh, this is my list of things for 53-year-olds that I
Yeah.
have to tell them what to do. I will tell
Well,
you,
and
one of the biggest things in your hunger, drink your water, drink your water, drink your
right,
water. It's
right,
hydration. We don't get enough water. That's
right,
why we get hungry. We're either hydrated or bored. That's why we're
right.
hungry. It's not always, oh, I
Yes.
have to eat. It's hydration and being bored. That's all.
Exactly. And if you can identify when your body is actually hungry, like when your stomach's like, and
Yep.
it's not just because, that you actually feel like, oh, I am hungry, so I
Yeah.
need to eat a little something.
Yeah.
And you don't go and fix a full course meal, but you
Mm-hmm.
actually just fix a piece of toast or an egg or something and just eat that. That's one of the things that I do like about the program was this 200 calorie every few hours. I'm like, that is
Mm-hmm.
something that makes so much sense to me.
Yep.
And I think you can do it whether you do
The
the fuelings or whether you just
Yep.
do it as long as you're able to keep it. The fuelings just make it easy.
Yeah.
So I do want to make this whole thing about Optavia, but I do want to, dude. You know how long we've been talking?
I know. I see. We could
I'm like,
we could talk for
longest
hours.
episode. longest episode of the podcast, because I always
Nope.
thought, I'm like, I'm just going to talk for like 15 minutes, and
You
we
should
are
call
two
this one.
peas.
You should call it "Speak Your Truth Plus,"
Oh,
the
I'm
expanded
gonna
edition.
I'm gonna call it the pluckening. The pluckening, the real truth,
The real truth.
the real
Wah, wah,
truth behind the
wah.
pluckening. Pum pum pum.
People are gonna
So
watch this and go, if they cut out about 15 minutes of laughter, we had a good time.
oh,
I
this has been
so
so.
enjoyed this.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it,
Oh,
and
you're welcome.
for
Thanks for asking me.
everybody. Yeah, for everybody, I'm going to be posting all of his links and everything where you can find him, take his art classes. If you want to learn more about his health coaching, anything that you might want to talk to him about, exactly. I'm going to put the links in the bio so you will be able to get in touch with him. If anything, you just want to become friends with him. That's just what I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you. And I
I'm
thank you
out on all
again.
the socials, so I'm out there.
Yes.
So yeah, come find me.
Thank you for being here this week, and I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you soon. I hope that we can get together soon and have some coffee
Yes.
or dinner or something.
Yes, and not be
Um,
two ships passing in the night at a reception.
One ship full of margaritas.
What?
That
Yeah, they were good.
they were good. Well, thanks so much for being here,
You're
and
welcome. Thank
everybody,
you.
we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye everybody.